Last year, I read more than 100 books. Before that, I probably read 50 books in my entire lifetime. What changed? I didn't magically carve an extra hour per day to read. What changed was my strategy. I implemented 7 simple techniques to make reading books so much easier for me. And in this video, I spill all my secrets so you can also read 100 books this year. Hey friend, and welcome to the channel. If you're new here, I am Dan. And in this channel, we explore the strategies and tools to become more effective and productive in order to accelerate your career and maximize your impact. And if you're anything like me and you're always eager to learn more about productivity and performance, please consider subscribing to the channel. And now let's continue with this video. In a world of iPhones and Instagram and Wi-Fi and Netflix, when was the last time you picked up a book that wasn't something your college English teacher put in your hands? Let's be honest. Chances are that even then you just looked up the summary. We all know that reading is a great habit, and yet very few of us actually make it one. To get better results in life, you need to learn constantly. And the best way to learn is to read effectively and read a lot. Books are the best technology of the 21st century. Reading books is like the real-life version of collecting mushrooms in Super Mario. So let's dive into the first technique to make reading a habit. Just 25 pages. The key to reading more books is to read every single day. Now, this may sound simple, yet how many of us actually do it? To read more books, reading books must become a priority. A simple hack to kickstart the habit of reading is to read just 25 pages per day. And that is about a 1-hour commitment for the average reader. And remember that this is the minimum amount, not the maximum. After 25 pages, you can either continue reading or do something else. Just 25 pages a day, every single day. That's it. These 25 pages a day add up quickly. And the advantage of a goal like this over a goal of like reading 1 or 2 books a month is that it will stop you from pushing off all your reading to the end of the month. So deciding that you'll read 25 pages a day is simple enough to get started and also very easy to track. And the goal of this step is that eventually reading a minimum of 25 pages a day will become a deeply held habit. And this leads us to the second technique, to read at the same time every day. Now, to make it easier to develop any new habit, a good tip to follow is doing that thing at the same time every day. And reading is no different. So what you want to do is decide on one time every day, say a 1-hour slot if you're going to be reading 25 pages, and schedule reading during that 1 hour. Now, I recommend that you get your reading early in the morning. That's what I did when I started developing a reading habit. And there are a few reasons why. First, you get a win early in the day. For most knowledge workers, reading has the highest ROI, and to start off the day with some good reading is an absolute win. And second, you'll be replacing bad habits with good ones. Instead of browsing your phone as you have your morning coffee before work, you'll be reading a book. And finally, early in the morning is when you have the most willpower, and so it will be a lot easier to develop a new habit. According to the book Spark, the revolutionary new science of exercise and the brain, exercise primes your brain for learning. What exercise does is it balances the levels of chemicals in your brain known as neurotransmitters, which in turn improve your ability to pay attention and prime your brain to more efficiently absorb and remember new information. So you can take advantage of this extra efficiency to learn new things by hitting the gym first thing in the morning and then sitting down to read right after. Another way you can use to find time early in the morning is by using the habit sandwich. And that leads us to tip number 3. So to understand what the habit sandwich is, we'll take a look at a little story about how Hey Ya by Outkast became a hit song. When the song was released, all research pointed out that this was going to be a monster hit. But even then, listeners kept switching the station when the song played. So what the record executives did is they got radios to play Hey Ya between already established hits until the song became familiar itself. And when that happened, Hey Ya turned into the hit that everyone expected it would be. And this is what the sandwich technique is all about. It turns your new habit into a hit. Pick 2 already familiar habits and then add reading in between. And since you already have the other 2 routines established, it should be a lot easier to add reading in the middle of it. So let's say your current routine is to exercise, shower, and then have breakfast. All you have to do is sneak reading in between your shower and breakfast. And soon reading will become a habit, just like brushing your teeth. Now, earlier we spoke about how reading can replace a bad habit like browsing your phone, and this is something that you can deliberately use to your advantage. And that leads us to the next tip: introducing reading into an already established routine. So essentially what you do here is make reading your default in already established routines. All you have to do is switch one habit for the habit of reading. Here's how I applied it to my personal life. I go to the toilet every morning. Before, I used my phone to play games or browse social media. One day, I put my Kindle in the bathroom, and I stopped bringing my phone altogether when I had to go. I could either read or do nothing instead. Slowly, I began to read every time I went to the toilet. I made it a new default. If I go to the toilet, I will read. And that's not the only place where you can replace an old habit with reading. You could read while commuting to work, pick up a book every time you take a meal alone, or instead of watching TV when you get home, sit in front of the TV and read. So you're not changing your routine, you're just replacing your phone or your TV with a book in the same routine. What this will eventually lead to is that a book will become your go-to instead of your phone. And that's essentially what strategy number 5 is all about. Let's say you're waiting for the metro and it's going to arrive in 5 minutes. What do? If you're like most people, you take out your phone and you start scrolling or playing games. But if you want to develop the habit of reading faster, make reading your new default to escaping boredom. Say you're waiting in line at the post office. What do? You can read. Need to wait for the bus? Good time to read. Waiting for a doctor's appointment? Read. Always carry a book wherever you go. If you have to wait for something, you just pick up the book and start reading. If carrying a book is too much of a hassle for you, a great idea is to get the Kindle app on your phone. Now, while we are on the subject of getting the Kindle app, an underrated aspect of developing a reading habit, but a crucial one nonetheless, is choosing the medium that works for you. And that leads us to the next technique. So I'll tell you what this meant for me personally. A few years ago, I tried to read on an iPad using the Kindle app, and disliked it so much that it took me years to give the Kindle a try. I wanted to see what all the fuss was about, but I couldn't bring myself to do it. Books were meant to be read on paper, and that's how I like them. Why bother? 2 years later, I'm convinced that the Kindle is the major reason I started reading so much. It took me a few days to adjust, but after that, I was hooked. What a beautiful device. Nowadays, there are multiple ways that you can experience books. Read them, physical or digital copies, or even listen to them. If you have a hard time reading, perhaps you're not using the right medium for you. Try switching around and see what works best for you. So if you like listening to podcasts, audiobooks might be the best medium for you. And because the world is digital, most people prefer using technology to read books. Start by installing the Kindle app on your phone or tablet and see if you like it. Or you could get a Kindle and see if you prefer reading on it. And just like choosing your medium, obviously it is very important to choose the right book to read. So that leads us to the next technique, choosing what to read. The thing about books is that just one great book can change your life. So how do you consistently find those types of books? One technique in which you can find such life-changing books is by looking for books that have stood the test of time. If a book has been around for a long period of time and people still talk about it, it's probably good. As Naval Ravikant put it in a Tim Ferriss podcast episode, the older the problem, the older the solution. If you're talking about an old problem like how to keep your body healthy, how to stay calm and peaceful of mind, what kinds of value systems are good, how should you raise your family? These kinds of things, the older solutions are probably better because they've withstood the test of time. So try to look for books that have stood the test of time, and you can start by reading those. Another technique that you can use is to ask close friends or mentors for one book recommendation. From everything they have read, what's the one book they would recommend? You compile a list from different people and you start from there. Now, even after following this process, not every book you pick up is necessarily going to be something that's great for you. Reading should be fun, and if you're not having fun, you're reading the wrong books, and it's time to quit. Another way to keep your reading interesting is to read up on a topic when you need that in your life. Reading for the sake of saying you read a lot is a vanity metric. The power of learning from books comes from applying what you read. And that's why you should choose your books based on what you need to learn right now, so you can use the information you consume. The idea is to get hold of some really good books that you will enjoy reading and make it a habit to pick them up whenever you can. By setting daily targets, dedicating time for reading, and making room for reading when you would have usually resorted to other unproductive pastimes, reading will eventually become a great habit. And this is going to help you in so many ways. Not only does it make you a lot smarter, but reading is also a great way to beat stress and even become more interesting. And aren't those three things that all of us really need in our lives? So go ahead right now and grab a book and start reading. Ignorance is more expensive than a book. If you like this video, you'll also enjoy my next one on my favorite time management techniques. These are the same techniques I use every day to manage my time a lot better. I hope you have learned something from this video and that it helps you develop a habit of reading. Let me know in the comments which book you'll be picking up first. Until next time, bye bye.